fixed my first EQ Systems leveling system on a 2004 NRC conversion, which is like a Peterbilt, or a Freightliner, I mean. Ooh. Drop that. Freightliner, Argosy, whatever that is. So anyhow, leveling system. So this thing wouldn't operate. It would turn on, everything would be fine, just like that. Everything would be fine. You hit any button and it kills it. The only one that didn't kill it was these. So you could manually extend a jack. Right? So that would work. But auto level wouldn't, and all retract. When you hit all retract, when you manually level it, it would just die. Like, and it was so quick, you'd almost think there was like a sensor broken or something. That it wasn't low voltage, but there was a slight like flicker or a dim in this, and I'm like, that doesn't seem normal. Little more research, I realized that this is the keypad, and on the back side of it is the controller. They stacked boards, 2 different systems in one unit, and this was the first edition. Once they went away from this, they went to a system that has the boards separated, and I'm sure that has something to do with heat and other, issues that they probably had on warranty. So this is only one where they were stacked. It's called the old platform, I guess. But what was happening is I'd turn it on, I'd hit auto level, and it would start auto leveling, and it would bring the jacks down for probably 4 seconds, 5 seconds, and then it would fault out. And then it would just shut off and quit moving, and then it throws random error codes. Nothing made sense. So just after basically going through the whole system from end to end, checking everything, I couldn't deem anything wrong. So I looked into grounding and power, and I was having no problems with it. Like, my meter was not catching a voltage drop. But what I found out is this is so quick. The system is so quick that it knew there was a voltage drop before my meter did. Now obviously I'm not using a Fleek, but I'm using a Southwire. It's a pretty good meter. And it's just not, it doesn't catch those just instantaneous, digital voltage drops. So I just kind of traced the wiring, and come to find out, they grounded. This is the ground. There's 2 wires that are attached to this. These are ground wires. And this is coming off this board, and these are the main grounds. They literally stacked it on top of plastic for the dash, and used the painted screw. Again, it's painted. Use that to basically ground it to the little metal bracket here that goes to who knows where. But dash caging is not a place to ground. Everybody should know that, especially a conversion company, right? So cut that out, not using that anymore. I ran a 12 gauge wire. They had 16 gauge feeding this. This is a 20 amp controller / keypad, 20 amps. And they had it fed with 16 gauge at a run of about probably 20 feet from the battery compartment. So I reran a new 12 gauge wire, and I, instead of grounding it here at the dash like a ding-a-ling, I used the same wire and ground it down at the battery compartment. So good power in, good power out. Let's see if she works. Oh, that's never happened before. Wow, it's actually bringing jacks down. This is a 2004 NRC N144 conversion. 2002 Peterbilt Argosy chassis. So I guess if I do end up ever putting this on YouTube, there is a little red wire coming off of this that you would think is a power wire. It is not. It is an ignition override wire. So there's basically the reason they grounded it the where they did was because they used a 2 conductor jacketed wire coming in. One side of that wire is the ignition, which would be the ignition override. The other one was power in, and then they didn't have any wire for ground, so they just went to the closest spot for it, which was just poor. I imagine N whatever, manufacturer ID. Yeah, this is conversion number 58, so they don't build enough of them to really find out in the short run that that's an issue. I'm sure it worked great when it was new. Yeah, great. It definitely works great now. I mean, you don't even see a single dim or flicker when this thing runs a jack, which before you could see everything dim out. It's just dancing, trying to find center. And then you'll see a center light pop up. What's weird about this panel in all my research is that the only way you can find this panel in a manual is by going to the air hydraulic manual. So under the air hydraulic manual, there will be one diagram showing this system, this panel, I should say. The only difference between this panel and the air hydraulic one is instead of power, it says air and hydraulic. Other than that, that's the manual you need. That's how I figured out how this one worked. Then there was another random PDF I found on the internet that showed the pinouts on the back of the board. That was pretty useful, but the only thing I needed that for was finding that ignition wire, which was pretty simple anyways. So beep beep, it's done. Success. Alright, so I'll just shut it off. Turn it back on. And then this is where it would not work, right? So if I manually leveled it, I wouldn't be able to hit retract all. It was instantaneous that this control panel would shut off. What you're hearing is the coach scooting forward because the jacks lifted it up off the airbags, and then when it came back down, it kind of moves a little bit. So if you were operating this coach, what you would do is you're still leveled, you're going to start the engine, you're going to air it basically up. Once it's aired up, then hit retract all, and you won't have it be skipping. That's basically the airbags will take the weight off of the jacks, and it'll have a lot better time retracting. But as you can see, it works perfectly fine, whether you're aired up or not. Yeah, it works really good. I'm gonna probably end up posting this video for the simple fact that in all my research, I could not find a video like what I'm creating right now. There was nothing. I basically had to go through diagrams and everything to figure it out. So NRC N144 conversion number 58, problem solved.